Before we begin, I would like to tell you that these are all my opinions and built upon speculation with the information I have at the moment. I could be wrong. I kind of hope I am. Please keep that in mind. And be warned that I will trash talk Keith, and it is my opinion, so please do not come for me in the comments. I want us to have an open and respectful discussion, so please do not ruin it with rudeness. Thank you. Hello, beautiful gremlins! Welcome to this week's Yap session. I am going to be talking about the new Keeper of the Lost Cities book that is set to come out this December. And why I already hate it with a burning passion, like, oh my gosh, Shannon, what the heck is wrong with you? So, first things first, I fully believe this book is unnecessary. Shocker. Anything that has happened to Keith in the human world can be talked about through word of mouth. If something so significant, jaw-dropping, insane happened, then we either would have found out in book 9 already, or it would have been a big plot twist, grand reveal sort of thing in book 10. The thing is, we don't need it. And with how much the series takes so long to get to plot points and pacing, there shouldn't be anything that we don't need this close to the end of the series. And anything that we might learn or get attached to, like characters, are only going to be in book 9.5, unless they come back for book 10, but then why? In my personal opinion, a book that has basically been started and finished already, as we know what happens to Keith in book 9, there shouldn't be such a critical plot point. Especially considering the slapping a 0.5 on the book's title isn't going to make people think that they need to read it. Casual readers sometimes don't read novellas or something of the sort, and that is perfectly fine because there are no hard-hitting plot points in a novella. And if there are, they're usually explained in the novel again, and the reader will be perfectly fine. Then again, it isn't a novella! It is a full-blown novel with 400 plus pages, which is even shorter than the first book, but I digress. Now, personally, I have no idea what's going to be in those 400 pages, but I don't exactly care. What is there to possibly more say that is so important that it requires an entire book to be told? And in my opinion, there shouldn't be a 0.5 on the spine of a full-blown book. I guess I won't know why Shannon has written this book until I actually read the book, but shouldn't I have a sliver of an idea right now? Because at the moment, what people seem to believe, and I do as well, is that Shannon is stalling writing book 10. That shouldn't be the leading theory, Shannon! It's just interesting to say the least. Just the fact that we are nearly ending the series, already past the year where Shannon said it would end, by the way, and yet we're getting this random book right before the end? I know Shannon likes to draw her books so much that it makes them like 900 pages when they could have been 500, but this seems so much like overkill. Not to mention that the pre-order sweepstakes stuff has a lot. There are 8 items that you can win if you pre-order the book and enter the sweepstakes. 8! Those things being a signed set of all the Keeper of Lost Cities books, a tote bag, a Keith quote sticker, a button, a sketchbook, a crystal necklace, a swan bracelet, and a cake flask. And I am not going to lie, a lot of those things sound cool as heck. But what the heck is the point of them all? I'm not on Instagram, and most of my information might be wrong, but apparently last week states there was only 5 prizes. I understand that it's only 3 more, but 8 is just a really high number right there. And those included in the book 9 sweepstakes was a signed copy of all Keeper books, a set of glitter slime, a swan necklace, a Keeper themed throw pillow, and glitter tattoos. Now, I don't want to say the prizes amp up because it seems the signed copies and something to do with swans is always part of the giveaways, but glitter slime? I can make glitter slime on my own. It's just strange how book 9.5 seems to me on the marketing side more. There's more stuff, there's more art, there's just so much for a book with 0.5 on its spine. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's a 0.5! That usually means it isn't important! And that's the thing. the marketing of it. I want to talk about it. Now, my glorious friend Juju's and I pretty much share the same opinion on the marketing matter, and to help me out, I asked her to put what she thought into words, and I'm going to now say my own paraphrase version of what she said with my own opinion and my own tastes. She laid the groundwork, so thank you so much, Jude, for helping me out. Now, it really does seem to me that book 9.5 is for the majority a marketing strategy, or a very big chunk of the minority, at least more than is normal. In regards to selling her books, Shannon is a successful writer. She knows that. And with this book, she seems to be feeding off the love of Keith and the fans of Keith. Now, that is a separate video for another time, but it seems to me that in the books, we are basically gaslit to like Keith and have him be the most amazing character. I'm not saying Keith isn't a good character, because he is. It's just a little overdone. And with Unraveled coming out, it's like Shannon is trying to get more money from fans who love Keith, who are mostly minors. I am not accusing Shannon of anything, and for all I know, her agency could have told her this book was a good idea, and that is why she did it, which honestly is most likely the case. But it's just interesting to me how this book seems to be taking advantage of young children, in the marketing side, obviously. These books are written for 8 to 12-year-olds. It says so on the cover. Obviously, older people can enjoy them. I'm 18 and I'm enjoying it. And from what I have seen, people in this fandom are quite young, especially on the Keith-loving side. And Shannon, these children consume your content, so it is your responsibility to try to teach them good lessons. I know some people are going to call me stupid and overreacting for saying this, but as a young person, when I read books, I was influenced by them. In fact, a bunch of my nervous tits and even the way I comb my hair are from books, of all places. Books make you who you are in many ways. I am not saying to have a
love everyone and be friends and dance with each other
as the point of the books, Shannon, but I am saying that you're portraying Keith so graciously is going to affect those children. Keith runs away from his problems and doesn't communicate his problems to people well. And among other things, he is never called out for this. Or if he is called out, the person is wrong and only sees Keith as a troublemaker, which in reality he's just misunderstood. He is always justified, and I hate that. Don't teach kids this! And now it's going to be an entire book on how he ran away from those problems? Listen, it would be better if Keith's entire arc of this book was him realizing he shouldn't run away from his problems and then he chooses to go back to the Lost Cities and try to fix everything, but we know that's not going to happen. Sophie seriously had to track him down and show up at his door to convince him to come back. Again, this is speculation. Maybe this is going to be his arc and Sophie showing up is going to be what pushes him to go back. But I highly doubt it due to what we have already seen in book 9 and how Shannon has handled Keith beforehand. This entire book series basically, how do these youngins put it? Glazes Keith. The other characters get less page time and are pushed to the side, and Keith stands out the most. It is not a bad thing, but Shannon made it bad by Keith just being a terrible role model in a series mostly read by young kids and showing no sign of character growth to see him as anything other than a best elven being or whatever. As you can see, I'm kind of fed up with this. This is manipulative behavior, Shannon. You are trying to make kids believe that Keith is superior, and I'm not saying that you have control of your fans, because that is my biggest pet peeve with people, but you have unknowingly made the fandom so toxic that if someone even thinks about not liking Keith or liking a separate character more than Keith, those fans seem to think it's okay to bully and talk down upon them. I made Fitz content. I'm not exactly a stranger. Just no wonder he's the most popular when you made him the most popular. And there are just too many diehard fans that you have accidentally made. And now you seem to be taking advantage of them with this book. I am not saying that this is what Shannon is doing. It just looks like it, and it is a little concerning. You are feeding into an obsession that if you have even seen a sliver of those Keith fans, you should know that it isn't a good idea to feed such an obsession. Shannon, you are a fully grown adult with a fully developed brain. 13. You should know better. This is taking advantage of young fans to buy an entire irrelevant book for this character. I am going to directly quote Jude here because she has said it best. Yeah, I get that there's spin-offs, but this is a cheap marketing technique. Using the manipulation of young readers to buy books that is branded as relevant to the plot. Of course, I have not read this book yet, and I don't know if it is relevant. That is just my guess and the author's words. And I especially don't think this book should exist for the plain fact that it is a cheap marketing technique that uses children. Again, this is speculation and I hope I am wrong and the publishers probably told Shannon to do this. I do not know anything. To E.T. Sutherland, the writer of one of my favorite series, Wings of Fire, has made a book called Darkstalker Legends that she released in the middle of the second arc. It was told in 3 perspectives, one of which being the villain of the second arc. And it gave very interesting insight to the backstory of said villain, and gave a lot of world building and just amazing details on the history of the world and what sort of things happened. It was just a good book all around. Why do I mention this? Because on surface level, it kind of sounds like book 9.5, not the villain part, obviously. It is meant to give helpful insight to the plot and the world, and to see things from a new perspective. However, Darkstalker didn't come out at the end of the series. It came out 2 books before the end of the second arc. You didn't need to read it to understand the plot. In fact, I didn't read it until I finished the second arc. It was just an interesting read and gave so much great insight to the backstory and personality of the villain and the 2 other dragons in his life. Now, I am not saying that book 9.5 cannot do the same thing. However, and this is my opinion, Keith's perspective doesn't exactly have anything to offer. It doesn't provide any earth-shattering details about his true character that we didn't already know. He always wears his emotions on his sleeve so readers don't need to guess who he is, and Sophie always seems to know what is going on in that little mind of his and tells us as such. All the time. A lot of telling and not showing with Keith's character is what I'm saying. I know I said Keith isn't good at communicating his problems, but we are fully aware of what his problems are. He just doesn't say it out loud. Keith, as a character, just doesn't seem to contribute much other than plot points from his perspective, or things for other characters. For example, his short story in book 7 showed us more about Alden's character than it did his. Showed him as manipulative and all that, which, if you thought about it too much like me, you already knew. Like, Jude sent his 6-year-old into such a dangerous world looking for a stranger. Oh my gosh, I hate this man! Oh my— But that's not the point! It doesn't really tell us much about Keith's character. It was just another, "Aw, poor Keith, he deserves Sophie so much." Which, side note, strange to me how Keith always goes on about how Sophie isn't a trophy, but the books constantly seem to portray him as more deserving of Sophie. But that is off topic and not the point, so I am sorry. Back to the point at hand. Keith's character doesn't exactly tell us much other than just checking off boxes of plot points. We know what Keith was feeling when he was in the human world because Sophie told us, and while she could be wrong, I highly doubt Shannon would do that. I understand it might be a, "Aw, she knows him so well" thing, but for interesting characters and book reasons, no. Now, Shannon did say that anyone could enjoy this book whether you like Keith or not, which— does she know how liking characters work? I understand that you can like a book and hate the main character. I mean, look at me, liking KOTOC. But from what I have seen, the people that do not like Keith usually find him annoying and exhausting. So why exactly would they enjoy reading an entire book in his annoying point of view? And also, from the snippets we have gotten of the books, maybe it's because I have read a lot of young adult books by insanely talented authors recently, and I am just no longer used to books written for children, and that will take some getting used to, but here goes nothing. He's whispered as the warmth carried him away. "Here come the Foster Fields!" Shannon, what? What? Is anyone else, cringing really hard? I honestly don't know how to describe how mentally unwell that line makes me. It is just so awkward and weird, and it just doesn't exactly make me hyped for the book. If anything, it just makes me depressed. It just isn't cute or funny, I guess. And maybe I'm wrong and I have an awful taste in writing and whatever. And I don't exactly like the idea of criticizing something without being able to have a way to fix it. But since I don't know the contents of this, I don't know how to make it better. Honestly, I think the line would be 10,000 times better if the "Here come the foster fields" was deleted. That is the only way to fix it I can think of at the moment before the book comes out. And obviously, this is one line in a 400-page book, so it's not enough for me to fully give up hope on it, and criticizing one line just feels cruel. However, it is a line Shannon is willing to share with us, and since we do not have the entire book yet, this is one of the few things that we have to judge the book. The entire point of sneak peeks is to get people hyped and excited to read the book. So, I mean, people can judge what is meant to get them excited all they want. In conclusion, my concerns for this book is that it's unnecessary and it's actually just stalling because Shannon is nervous to write book 10. It seems to be more of a marketing strategy than a passion project that is meant to move the books along its plot. Again, for what seems to be the 100th time, this is all speculation. I hope that I am wrong about this book not being good and that it's actually amazing. And it will actually do something for the plot. Maybe. I don't know. I hope. I decided to make a community post asking others what they think about Unraveled, so I'm going to read some of those comments aloud right now. Alora Elkalin, hi Alora, stated that people are getting really upset, and I'm sad that all these criticisms are making me like the series less. I'm trying to keep an open mind, appreciate all the wonderful parts, and I do enjoy Keith's character, but I'm trying not to let the fandom ruin him for me. It is alright not to like him, or think he's overrated, but I still want to like him. I think the plot is getting overstretched and too complicated, but I have sympathy as a writer for how difficult of a task it will be to wrap kotlc up. I am giving as much grace as I can for Shannon Messenger, and avoid the haters. I think So Keith will be nice, but I also have fresh eyes for their relationship, and will hold it a little looser. The second runaway really showed the flaws, and I am a little annoyed at how it's brushed aside. But having an elf's reaction to the human things will be really fun to read. I agree. However, the entire video is me being concerned over the book, so... Liv the Elf says, it's going to be interesting. Also, the fandom has slightly ruined Keith for me, so I really hope that they don't ruin him anymore when they absolutely obsess over this book. I don't care about his character. Keith is not that hot. Yes, I cannot stress enough how tired I am of being gaslit and manipulated into thinking he's hot. He's not that hot. Anyway, as Fangirl talks about, I am looking forward to more Keeper content, and I am trying to keep an open mind, but I find Keith to be whiny and annoying in the recent books. I find it hard to believe this book is necessary, but maybe I'll be surprised. I very much hope we get a story or two from Australia in this book. Yes, this is fully my take as well. And I also hope that Shannon writes Keeping to go in different places really well. The artistic bookworm says, very well, I may add. I don't think it will really tell us anything too new, and I think she is 100% stalling, and it's likely because she has no clue how she's going to end the story. Now, she did mention she would explain the Great Glowing incident in the side story, and this is almost technically a side story. That would be a redeeming quality, but I am annoyed because I want to go back to the old books where the main group is actually friendly and nice towards each other, but none of them besides Keith will probably even be in this book. Midnight Stormy just says that she wants to see Keith try random desserts, which, based. And that concludes the community's takes. I am so sorry for my yep session, but I do hope you enjoyed it, and please leave a comment telling me your opinions about book 9.5, and remember to be respectful. If you have made it this far and actually enjoyed me, why thank you. Please consider subscribing and liking the video, wink wink. And if you didn't like me, then I guess leave a dislike and tell me how I can improve in the comments, I guess. But I hope you did like me. Go and do something that makes you happy right now! After listening to me complain and rant, I feel like you guys deserve it. And if something that made you happy is watching another video, then the video on your screen is something that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I hit the setting for it and everything, and I promise there is less negative yapping. Thank you, and bye!